Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome once again to your Investment Dominator live Q&A call on this beautiful Thursday, May 23rd, 2019. And I'm Warren Davis. I'm with you this afternoon to answer your questions. Just want to real quickly, as normal, do a quick sound check. Make sure that you all can hear me okay. You should be seeing my Investment Dominator screen, the black screen, to give me an answer. If you can hear me okay. Thank you, Eileen. Seems like all is good. Send in your questions, and again, we're going to, before you start sending in your questions, we are going to go through a real quick, request on my part. For as you're sending in your questions, there's just been so many of you that are in the room, and sometimes I get questions, sometimes I'm getting comments, and I love them all, but I need to be able to organize them a little better. So I'm going to go into how exactly would be best for us to answer the questions. But before we get into our questions this afternoon, we want to make sure we have everyone on board and understand that a week from today, this is the 23rd, so a week from today, the 30th, class will be canceled. I'll actually be heading to a live or I guess a 2-day Investment Dominator class that's being held on the 30th and 31st, but I'll be at that class on the 30th. So class, we won't be having this particular class on that day or this particular webinar. And then the following Thursday, 2 weeks from today, I'll be traveling back from Reno, Nevada. So I won't be available for the call then. So that's next Thursday, the 30th and the 6th. I want to make sure we have everyone to understand that's going to be canceled. So we'll see what we can do about making sure we get your questions answered on Monday. We'll be here Monday, even though it's going to be a beautiful holiday. We'll be here to answer your questions at 5 p.m. So again, see my send your questions screen, and real quick before we start to get into answering your questions, I'm going to put up a little sheet here that will help me answer your questions. I've made this request before, but I think we have some new folks in the house, and I want to make sure that we go over it with the new folks as well. Just for my sanity and to help me answer your questions efficiently, I'd appreciate it very much if you don't have to really put the word question if you don't want to, but you could just put maybe a question mark in front of the question category. And so even just a question mark will let me know that that's an actual question as opposed to a comment. I love your comments while we're on the line, and I get a chuckle out of a lot of them. But I just need to differentiate between, or be able to distinguish between the questions that are being asked and maybe a particular comment that's being made. So if you could either just use a question sign or the word question, and then it would be very helpful if you could put the question category, like if it's about offers, it may be about Pat Live, it could be about APNs, or it could be about calculating our offer price, whatever it is, some little, 1 word or 2 word category, and then the actual question. If you could then pose that question, that will help me organize and be able to efficiently get your questions answered while we're on the call. A lot of times I'll get like a one-liner, and it may be a comment, it may be a question, but I need to distinguish that while I'm on the call. And there's several of you in the room. Right now, we're expecting some more even right now, but you can have 30 or 40 people on a broadcast at a particular time. And as you can understand, it's difficult to answer the questions and decipher the comments and then keep present for myself the current question I might be trying to answer all at the same time. So if you give me that help, I would really, really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to get into your questions. And I can see some have already started to come in. I appreciate that, Gene, just the way you asked that, that's perfect. I will see if I can get back to that question shortly. We're gonna take the questions that we had on Monday that we didn't really get a chance to get to. There's only a couple of them. The first one was how to use the county assessed value in determining the value of a property, and specifically in areas where we're calculating the offer amount. That was a question that came in on Monday, and I want to make sure that we get that one answered, because that's really important. As you can see my Investment Dominator screen here, and I've logged in, and we're going to look at our land deals section. But the question just basically says, how do we use the county assessed value and help us determine the market value of a property in specific areas? Now, this is really because we're calculating the offer amount here. So that's the reason why this can be considered an Investment Dominator question, but it's normally kind of a business question that is left up to you all, how you may, if you want to use the way Jack has described for you to calculate your offer amount. That's what I would recommend. But there are some of you that have more creative ways of calculating these offer amounts. So what we're at here is they're asking how to use a county assessed value offer. Now, this is a demo file, obviously, but the record is in pending preliminary research, which is what it needs to be in, pending preliminary research, so that what's happened in the process, neutral letters have gone out and been sent, and so now a prospective seller has responded saying, I want to have an offer from you. So that's why our record's in the pending preliminary research status, as you can see here. That's correct. And then, now normally we would have, so we would look down and we're going to see what the county assessed value is on this particular property. And I'm just going to put in, for sake of arguing, let's say it's 17,500. Okay, and using that this county assessed value here, I'm going to make sure I update my record so that it shows this particular amount. What we're really after determining, as you may be aware, is our offer amount here. This is really what we want to get to. So in determining that, before we get to that offer amount, we have to determine, what the market value, what our comps are. And I'm sure a lot of you know that we can use our online comparables, either in Realtor.com, Trulia, etc. But the question has to do with, how we're going to use the county assessed value in determining that. And it's a question behind that question is basically, there are some counties you'll go in where the county assessed value a lot of times is equal to what you'll find in your comps. So as you go out and you look at other pieces of land that has sold that are about the same size as yours, you'll notice that the county assessed value and the market value are equal. So in this case, if it were equal, it would be 17,500. This is after you've done some of your work on several different records in that county. You'll see, oh, pretty much the county assessed value runs consistent with the market value. And that's a pretty easy way to figure it out. So your market value then would be set at 17,500. In one of the counties I'm working in, that is the way it started out, that the county assessed value was running pretty even with what I was seeing in the market for land that has sold. So once you determine that in a particular county, it's pretty safe. Once you get to the county assessed value, you can go in and put it in as the market value. Now lately, I've noticed in the same area that I'm working, the county assessed value and the market value, the county assessed value is kind of low after the market has picked up. So now I'm finding that a lot of my market comps for this same piece of property that would be valued at 17.5 by the county, in the particular market value, it's like 19,000. So it's gone up. And so once you realize that that's the case, this county assessed value is just a place for you to start. But you really go into, realtor.com, Trulia, even Zillow. Those are the ones I use mostly, Realtor and Zillow, if I want to determine my market value. And then you'll see that a lot of this land that's sold, especially if it's comparable to the land or the size of the area of, let's say 5.5 acres. If it's comparable to that, you'll see that the market value might be up. So the way you use the county assessed value is just really as a starting point. You can't always depend on that to be the actual number for the market. Now, in some cases as well, the county assessed, I haven't found this to be true yet, but the county assessed could be more than the market value that you come up with at the time. So it's really important to do a really thorough sampling of your county and your market, so you have a real good picture of the relationship between when you see the county assessed and when you actually check your comps in the market. You want to do several different sizes of property. I would recommend, and it takes a little more, it takes a little time to go into these different areas, Realtor, LandWatch, Zillow, etc., to determine your market value. But it's well worth your time, and you will be much more accurate when it comes to determining your offer amount, which is what we want to get to. So once you have your county assessed and your market, especially your market, you can go in now and you can calculate your offer. And I don't know if I didn't want to do that too quickly, but all I did was right next to my offer, there's this neat calculator there. I think I've demoed this before, where you can just click on that and it will give you this calculate your offer box. And if you don't want to use that, you can also go up here to options. As long as you have a county assessed value and a market value mainly is most important. You can come right up here. You can also say calculate offer, and it brings you to the exact same place. So they've just, Alex has just made it simple for us to, find get this calculation from either location. And again, remember, when you're in here and you're calculating your offer, if there are any back taxes owed, if there were $2,000 in back taxes, you can see that this takes my value here, my min, and I would use this amount, this net offer min and net offer max. So I want you to keep that in mind too, if there's any back taxes. But this is basically where you would, be able to calculate your offer amount based on your market value amount. Remember, we put that as 19,000. Okay. So I'm hoping that gives a little more insight into exactly how you want to use the county assessed value in determining your overall market. Okay, we've got some questions even on how to tweak our neutral letter, and we're going to be getting into that. I do have I've got a couple of questions on that this week, so I've got it written down as one of the questions we want to address. Before we get there, again, we had a question from last week. I should just say Monday, actually, on the names of the buying versus selling site. So the names of buying site versus seller site. Okay, and the names, really, it's your business. It's up to you what you want to name your site. But just so you understand, a little bit of the rationale, when I'm looking at my buying site, and Again, I'm going to open it up and it says, we buy real estate fast and for cash. So you're actually looking for people that are trying to sell you some land. And we specialize in no hassle loans, closes. If you would like to have cash in exchange for your property, contact us now. So the question had to do with, okay, what are the names of my buying versus my selling site? What should they be? And now this particular one, it just has this URL in here for this site, but that's not really. I'm going to give you a name just so that it's kind of dramatic, but just so that you get an idea of what I'm talking about. Let's say, you're selling this, you're looking for somebody that wants to sell you land. And someone might name their selling site, www.abunchofdirt.com, okay? And that's just a name, but it's letting them know, hey, basically, we're going to buy some land from you, but we're just buying a bunch of dirt. So it's really not that glamorous, but I want anyone trying to sell me land to think of it as, okay, well, I know you may think it's a lot of value, but I'm not going to pay a high price for this land because to me, it's a bunch of dirt. That's just one rationale. And then on your selling site, where you have someone that is going to be buying land from you, not this name here, but I might name it www.choicelandforyou.com, because you want somebody that's coming to buy land from you. You want them to think of it that it's choice land. This is primo land for you. So you give them the idea and insight just from your name of what you name your particular site, that they're coming to get, choice land. So that's just an idea of how you can use your names and name your sites so that you're actually communicating a message to each of the individuals you might be dealing with. And remember last week we did say that the reason why we have two different sites is because we're appealing to two different groups of individuals. One that wants to sell you their land, and the other group is trying to buy land from you. And those are two distinct markets. You don't want them to ever cross. So that's why we have two different sites, buying and selling sites. Okay? Hopefully that clears up a little bit of confusion there. And I'm seeing, okay. Okay, all right. Eileen, I can answer that real quick here. We have a question at the calculator. Do you plug in the offer you're going to make into the calculator? And that is absolutely correct, Eileen. I will go back and show you that real quick. I'm sorry, I kind of just blew by that because I was trying to get the idea across. But let's just say, I think we were looking at one of these records here. Doesn't matter, I'll fit it in there. So it's in pending preliminary research. Let's just say we've done our analysis. Yes, we have the 17,000 is our county assessed and the 19,000 is the actual market. After we've looked at our comps, I come in here and I hit this, and what I'm going to do at this point, just so that my offer does show, and since I'm not going to have any back taxes here, I'm just going to go on and put in the min and the max. And remember, now for me personally, and this is your business, so you can do it, however you see fit. I try to go somewhere right between the minimum and the maximum for my initial offer. Some individuals, people I know out there, they start with this minimum amount only. And so if this is the minimum amount, this is exactly the amount they put in the offer. I don't do that. I will go in between the minimum and the maximum that you see here. And so for this 32 and 22, so I might be right at about $2,700 $654.97, something like that. I'm going to put in my custom offer. I'm using the custom offer. Okay. So do I plug in offer? Yes, I plug it in here, and all I hit is this save right next to it. And it's very important that you don't forget to save this offer amount that you put in. I don't know how many times in the beginning I wasn't used to hitting, I noticed it was saved by everything, so I thought maybe this save would help this save, but it doesn't. You have to hit that save right next to it, and then you come out, and then I just update record just to make sure that the entire record gets updated. And as you can see, it fills in my offer amount. So good question. That's exactly what you do. And the other day, I noticed that we did have a question similar. It's a question around our property analysis. So I'm going to go on and answer this question now. And that's how to locate or use the property location, which is a little black tab in Investment Dominator. How do we locate a property using that tab? And I'm going to bring up an example here of exactly how we'll do that. We'll go back into our land deals records. So basically what this question is asking is right around, let's see, this is mailed letter 1 status, that's okay. I'm going to go in here. So a record that you have in Investment Dominator, you notice does not have a property address or longitude and latitude. This property is vacant. So the question came, I believe this question came from Gene. This was Gene's question, and I misunderstood it on Monday, and I want to make sure I get it cleared up. But there's this little black map pin over here. And Gene was asking, well, how do I use this little black map pin to bring back my property address, or actually my longitude and latitude? How do I do that? And so just for the sake of, we're going to use that. So I just clicked on that pin, and I want to make sure that you understand how to use this particular tool. Now you see it brings up a map, and let's just assume that we're going to go somewhere around New Mexico. Now, in order to make this really understandable for you here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you real quickly something I put together just for this demonstration. So this is a picture of a computer keyboard, because what I'm going to be using in this particular picture, I'll probably be using the shift key, and here's the control key down here. And then over here, we have our enter key and we have our escape key. Just want you to be aware, so when I call out, like say the control key, you have an idea where that is, okay, on your keyboard. And not trying to insult anyone's intelligence, I just want to make sure that I make it as easy as possible for you to be able to go in. And I'm going to cancel that. So I'm going to go back down here. Okay, I'm going to choose this pin again. So what I'm looking for is my longitude and latitude for this particular record. So we're going to be in New Mexico. So what I'm doing, basically, I'm holding down my control key, okay? And I'm using the wheel on my mouse. There's a wheel in the middle of your mouse. And what that's going to allow us to do, that's going to allow us to zoom in. And if I want to drag, I'm just doing a left click, and I'm dragging the image to the right. And again, I have my finger on the control key, and I'm using my mouse wheel to hit to zoom in or zoom out. So again, we're going to look around Albuquerque here, just for the sake of So as I'm holding down the control key and I'm using the wheel, you see it gets me closer and closer and closer, and I just zero in. Then you'll be, as the closer you get, you can see, hopefully you can see, I'm gonna make it a little bigger here. So you can see the outlines of the properties, right? So that's what you want. So now, if from the county I've been given at least some of the names of, like one name of the street, like let's say it's on Bates Road. This is really a cool feature that Alex and company has put in for us to be able to zoom in. Except for the fact that the only thing I struggle with a little bit with this is you have to kind of know where this street is in like the Albuquerque area. So, but if I'm given Bates Road Southeast, or I'm given, I think this is Reading Avenue Southeast, and I determine from the county map, I'm going to determine that, let's say my property is right here. All I do is left click, select that, and this pin goes right there to my property, and I can put that pin on my property. Now, right now I'm in full screen mode, so the way to get out of full screen mode, I'm using my escape key, and that brings me out of full screen mode. This little toggle full screen view, that obviously puts you in full screen view. And then when you want to come out of full screen view, just escape, puts you right back, and you see the pin stays wherever you clicked on it. So it stays there. And see where it says here now, you can save your pin location. So you just hit save pin location. And if you go back down here, this has now populated your latitude and longitude field, and it puts it right in there. So then all you have to do now is you can update your record. And this is really really a fantastic feature, because some of you, if you've tried to market any of your properties, you know that a lot of vacant land does not have an actual address, especially if there's never been a house there on that vacant property. So the only thing you're going to have in terms of an address is the longitude and latitude. And when you begin to create your websites or your web, let's say you get the contract on this particular, we're going to give it some acres here. It's 4.5 acre. On this particular parcel, when you get ready to market this, one of the key components that are going to show up is your property address, your longitude, latitude, and what city it's in. We'll just, for the sake of, put it in Phoenix, and then your zip code and everything. But getting this longitude and latitude, you're steps ahead. So you've already got that information in your record. So now that I have that, remember, and this is in mail letter 1 status. So if I'm going to market this and do analysis, it's got to be in pending preliminary research. So I'm going to update the record here. Once I update that record, my options say, wow, look, I can view this on the map. And if I select view on the map, boom, it comes right back to my map location where I picked that from Albuquerque, out of the Albuquerque area, and it gives me that on a map location. And this can be used to help your prospective buyers find this property. So this is a very powerful tool that makes it easy for you to find this particular address. Now, for myself, I think I did demo last week that, this is just an alternative. You can do the way I just showed it to you, or you can come in and you can do a Google Maps search. And, some of you probably have learned how to do it this way. The only reason why I like this sometimes a little bit better, and it's easier for me personally, I'm used to being able to go in and say 143 Johnson, and I'm looking for something in North Carolina. Okay, so if I want to come to 143 Point Road, let's see. Spindale, North Carolina. It allows me to do a little bit of a search. I can put in this and search for this particular item, and any addresses that I put in, 143, whatever, or if I were just to put in, all I have is the road, I just have the street, it still comes in to Johnson Street in Spindale, North Carolina. See, and it'll put that little tab there on that button. And then I can begin to look around and see, okay, what are the streets that are around here that might be the street that the county gave me? Because sometimes that's all I have is the name of a street in a county. That's all I've got. So I need to be able to search for that. So this is just two different ways that you can find that. And if I find that my property is right here, I'm left clicking on my mouse and I go, what's here? It pops up. This is the location. And here's your longitude and latitude right here that I'm going to copy. And I'll copy that into my record. So I'm just giving you a couple different ways to search for this, to search for your properties. But the question came up, well, what do we do with that little black pen over there? And that's how you're going to use it in order to locate your property. And just so we're consistent here, when I brought up my keyboard, I didn't show you the mouse part. So I was holding down the control key and I was hitting my mouse wheel, which is right here in the middle of your mouse, okay? So with the control key and the mouse, that would zoom me in and out. And when I got ready to come out of full screen mode, I would hit my escape key up here. So hopefully that will give you a little insight into how you use that map pen. I know we've had a few questions on that over the last few days, and we want to make sure we get those addressed. So now, let's see. And I know we have a question there from Gene. I'm going to put this Gene at the top of my list. I'm going to have to do a little research. Able to speak to masking our affiliate link. That's a question maybe a little bit outside the scope. In fact, it is outside the scope of the Investment Dominator class, but we do have links within Investment Dominator. So I'm going to find out, Gene, a little bit more about your question so that I can make sure I give you a good answer. I'll have an answer for you definitely by Monday when on our next class here, and we'll be able to address that as one of our first questions. Let's see. Okay, and Michael, I'm going to come right back to your question. I see it there. I'm going to get to another question that came in just before yours from Catherine. And yes, you're very welcome. And it's basically how to add additional, sometimes when we get questions, there are actually questions behind these questions. So this question has to do with status options. And how do we add additional status options in the Investment Dominator? So this is a bit of a loaded question, but we're gonna deal with it here today and get it answered for you, so at least you know how to use and how to create your different status options. So I'm still in Investment Dominator. We have options, or I should say status options, within the Investment Dominator where we generate offers, and based on what's the status. Remember, Investment Dominator runs primarily off of these status fields. So if it's in prospect status versus mailed letter 1 status, based on the status that these records are in, you can do obviously different functions. And we have, these statuses are built in. So we do have some custom built-in statuses for you that help you to generate and control your land record as it goes through what we call our deal flow. Okay, and I'll bring up maybe a little picture of that to show you. Whenever I speak of the deal flow in Investment Dominator, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the LPG, Land Profit Generator deal flow, where you select a target market, you get a list, mail letters and talk to sellers, do preliminary research. These are various statuses. Majority of these up here are with the prospect status, mail letter to sellers. Then you do preliminary research. It changes the status now to like an offer status because you're getting a request now for an offer. You mail your offers, that's another status. So the deal flow, this is the deal flow that a particular piece of property, a property record will go through, okay? And just want to make sure I got that clear for you. Let's see, where did my Investment Dominator go? Here, there we go. Okay, so we're here in the custom stages and statuses area. And as you can see, we have, the different statuses or stages that a record will go through. You have your prospect stage, and then you have your offer request stage. So question dealing with, how do we generate or how do we put in maybe a custom status that we want to put in? These are, these statuses are built in, and me personally, I haven't found a reason not to use them, but some want to be a little bit more creative and want a little bit more status or a few more statuses added. So you'll notice that when a property is in prospect status versus mail letter 1, let me go back and show you that real quick. Prospect status, there are just, the only thing a record in prospect status can do is generate documents. That's an example. So that's the first status, generating documents. Now, when we get to a record that is in mailed letter 1, mail letter 1 status, what can it do? You can generate documents and you can do a new offer request. That's the difference in, that's another status. Now, a record in pending preliminary research, you hover over that. You can set a property location. You can do market research. You can calculate offer options. You can generate documents. So as you can see, as a record goes through the deal flow, you will be able to do more options than you can when a record's like, let's say in prospect status. All right, so if we want to create a brand new status under our prospects, I'm going to go back to that customize, and I'm going to look for custom stages and statuses, and I'm going to come down here. Now I'm just going to add a status, and we're going to add a couple of statuses here. The first status is going to be for our prospect stage. Make it nice and easy there. Status type is going to be, of course, we're dealing with land. There's also, you can do houses if you want, but we're dealing with land. And the status name, I'm just going to say I want to do a blind offer. That just says basically I want to, I know my area that I'm working in, and even to my prospects, I want to be able to send them a blind offer saying, hey, I know just about how much your land is worth. I want to offer you some money on it. So you don't even have to wait for them to get back. They have a written offer to, from you. Now at the blind offer stage, the only, the prospect stage and the blind offer status, only thing you can really do, you really probably want to do is generate a listing, generate a document. That's probably all you want to do at this particular level is generate a document. We want to be able to send a blind offer to our prospects in the prospect stage. So I'm just going to say add. Okay. And what Investment Dominator does is it adds that new offer, but you can see it's down, it always goes down to the bottom. Okay, so that's our blind offer. Now, I want to add another status that's going to be a blind offer, and that's going to also be in the prospect. And it's going to be land. And I want to do a status blind offer sent. So that's a status that I want to create for myself. Not only do I want my blind offer, but I want to know what it's going to do when my blind offer has been sent. So in my blind offer sent category, remember it's dealing with offers, so you should be able to do more. So I want to set a property location. So when the customer calls in, I want to be able to pull up an offer request, and I may want to do the set the property location. I want to do a new offer request. So if they call in, I might want to send them a different offer request. So I want the ability to do that. I want to be able to view this on the map since it's an offer that I'm sending. I want to see what their property looks like on the map. I might want to do some market research, and I definitely want to be able to generate documents for a blind offer being sent. And what else? I probably want to be able to calculate the option amount there as well for some of these records where I'm going to do a blind offer sent. So you can see I'm able to do a lot more, and I'm creating this status so I can have all these different statuses that I can handle this blind offer sent record. So I'm going to add that status, and as you can see, it added it right down here at the bottom, and it's all these different status options I have now for that stage, right? Those are my options. So I've got my blind offer sent. And now the next thing we want to do is you want it to show up properly in your in Investment Dominator when you pull up these particular statuses. You want it to show up properly. So we're going to have to sort these so it makes sense where these should show up. So I did my add status first. Now I'm going to do my sort status. And here we go. On this side we have land. On this side we have houses. Now we're just dealing with land here. But you can see I have my blind offer and my blind offer sent that I've created here. They show up automatically. But now it makes sense to me to have them after my prospect record, or my prospect status, I should say. So I'm going to then just click and drag. I'm just doing the left click on my mouse, and I'm moving this up right under prospect. Makes more sense for it to be there. And then, of course, my blind offer sent, we do the same thing. So I'm left clicking, and I'm just dragging it up right under the prospect. So it's prospect stage, and then blind offer or prospect status, blind offer, and blind offer sent. So I've changed the way these are actually going to show. Now I want to make sure, never forget to save. Okay. So I have created these, and they don't show up here. Remember here, they're always going to show up at the bottom because those are the last ones created. So now we've created our statuses. If I go back to land deals, and I want to see just what those look like. So I'm going to take a couple of my prospect records here. I'll come here and I'm going to edit them. And I'm just going to say, okay, what my status is. Here we are. Under prospect, we have our blind offer and blind offer sent. So I'm going to select blind offer. Hit update. They should immediately show up once you create those records. They'll immediately show up in Investment Dominator. Okay, this is my blind offer. And I'm gonna go back and grab me another record here. Another one of my prospects. Let's do George there. Okay. And I'm gonna also set George to have a blind offer. Update my record. Okay, so now I've got at least 2 records that have been set in the blind offer status. And I'm at, I tell you, time is going by here. So if I wanted to search for these records, just to make sure that I have those 2 records, I can search, remember, again by status, and I can say, okay, hey, I want to find all the blind offers that I've made or that I have right now. And there they are, my 2 records that I set with blind offer status show up. And, you know, as you can see, the options I have here, I can just basically, all I can do is generate documents. But now, so I'm going to clear my search. And I could have left it there, but let's say, so if I go back here now and I want to change, or I want to update both of their records to the offer option sent now. Remember, blind offer sent. So I have the blind offer. They're set out right now. Now I want to update their status, change their status to a blind offer sent. And it's just that easy. You come in and select those 2 records, and you could do it either way. So I physically selected these records, but let's say you had 15 or 20 of them and you didn't know where they were all at. So you would have searched by status and blind offer, search, and these are your records that show up. So now I want to select these records. Now I'm selecting 2 records, but you could be selecting 20 or 30 records. And so that's why I do my select all based on my search status or my search criteria. And I just want to change their status now to blind offer sent. And I'm going to confirm that move. Those 2 records now are updated. And when I clear my search, if I want to come back and do a search for any of these records that are status blind offer sent, search, and there are my 2 records. So Investment Dominator gives you a lot of flexibility. We've created new status. Now we've searched records. We've assigned different status to our records that we've selected. A lot of flexibility in you creating. That's how you create a customized search. I just want to point one more thing out before we leave this conversation here. The only records in here that you'll probably be able to delete, or that you can delete, notice if I go in and I edit this particular stage and status, the only thing I can do is save it or cancel this whole that whole deal right there, so that I'm not changing the record at all. Now, the customized statuses that you've created, I want you to know that here, these are the ones that you'll be allowed to delete, the ones that you have created. If you didn't create them, the system won't allow you to delete them. So you can delete all of your customized statuses. And that's basically how you create the status. And I want you to be able to go back and look at this at your leisure. And we're going to move on here so we can get to, I think, one of our questions that we have. That's how you create your custom statuses. And that took us a little while to get through that one. But the next one is showing how we, create our custom documents. And we're gonna get more into this. May have to. I'll get as far as I can today. HTML editor. But we've had questions coming in on how to use the HTML editor to use in building our custom documents. Now understand we have built-ins with these different statuses as you've just seen, but in the event that you wanted to create your own custom document, you have to know how to go in and modify the document that you're going to create. And we're going to start with the prospect status, and we're going to move into showing you how to modify or create your custom document. So let's just, for the sake, for this demo, I want to go back in. I'm going to create one more status. I'm going to create a status for land. And again, it's going to be under our prospects. I'm going to create it for land. And I basically want to just be able to generate documents. And I'm going to call this one follow up letter to, I'll put it like this, -2 sent. So I'm going to add this status, and all I'm going to be able to do is generate documents basically. And so this is saying, you know, we have a mailed letter 1, but if we want to do a follow-up mailed letter 2 for some prospects, you know, this is how we could actually achieve that. So I'm going to add that particular status. And again, just so that it makes sense to me as I see that status, I want to sort this status. So the follow-up is here, and I want it to come up under the mailed letter 1 status. So I'm going to stick it right in there. And again, save it. Never forget to save. And just so you know, this is going to be all recorded, so you can go back. I'm trying to get through here kind of quickly, but you can go back and review this at your leisure. So we created our status. Now, if we want to actually create a new custom document, it's really easy to do, but the tricky part, come up under Customize again, and we're going to look at Custom Documents here. The tricky part comes in when we're actually updating the HTML and we're actually adding to our document. So we say Add Document, and I'll do for land only. Now, this is the part that I need to explain because this is the part where people get a little confused. Document or PDF. And just want you to know that when you create document, which is like a Word document versus a PDF document, these generate differently. So for myself, just to be safe, I'll hit both. I'll create both, and that's going to create both a doc and a PDF for me. And it allows it to, I always know how it's going to be generated. I very seldom do custom documents, but this is how you would do it if you want to do it. And our document title, follow up letter 2. All right, and I've chosen both. Status, remember it's going to come right after your mail letter 1. So I'm going to put it right there. Portrait I leave alone. Now, this is where the majority of what I want you to understand. Let's say if I wanted to start creating my document, you know, you could type something in here, or you could copy text into here. This is where people get a little bit hung up. If I want to just, let's say, insert a field, and these are all your different fields you can insert. So that's dear, and then I want to say the caller's first name. All right, so I'm bringing it in there. I'm going to, now, just so you know, there's a little question mark over here that gives you insight into how to use your insert merge field. So you can insert a field into your custom document that will pull data from your contact, owner, or your property record. So this is just a way to merge fields, and I pulled up this one field called caller first name, and so that's going to be one field that the system is going to insert for me. Hopefully that's pretty straightforward. And then a lot of individuals are wondering, and this is the part that I want to get to right before we get out. This is probably all we're going to have time for. When I hit enter, you see my cursor skipped a line and it went right to the next line. So this is called a paragraph break. Now, sometimes people get a little confused because they actually want to be able to put something right in between this dear and the paragraph break. Now, in order to be able to do that, just so I want my cursor to go to the next line, this is kind of an HTML shortcut. All you do is hold down the Shift key and hit enter, and you see my cursor then goes to the next line. So I want folks to understand that. Again, I'm going to show you my keyboard here. All I did was hold down the Shift key, this key, and I hit enter simultaneously. So Shift enter, and that takes me to the next line. So if I do another Shift and enter, I get line 2. So see, a lot of people, what they're doing is they're hitting, they're wondering why they have so many spaces in between their lines and they can't get them to go, smoothly, because they're just hitting enter, and that's putting in. And again, if I just hit enter, see it skips a line and goes to a paragraph break. And see that's so there's a lot of cool features on this HTML, and I don't have a lot of time here, just a few minutes. Just want you to know that all you have to do is hover over, all I'm doing is moving my cursor over this particular field, and you see the italics comes up. If I want to bold. So there's little explanations as to what each of these fields are for. Individuals have been wanting to put in either bullet points or numbered list. If I want to do a bullet point, all I hit is left click and see it automatically starts. Bullet number 1. Then when I hit enter again, it comes right down for bullet number 2. If I want to get out of this, I hit it one more time so it creates it like I want to do an entry, and I just deselect it. All right, and you notice my cursor goes back over to the far left. And then if I want to put in a number, this is where you put in numbers, a numbers list. Number 1 and item number 2. Hopefully this will give you a little insight into how you can actually create your own custom documents here without and you can control the spacing of those documents. There's a lot of power here. So I showed you how to create the bullet points, showed you how to create the list, and just hovering over these icons will let you know what give you insight into what each command will do. So the last thing I'll be able to cover real quick with you is if I wanted to put in what they call margins, and because it could be a document that I'm going to be creating, there's this table field here. Once I select table, instantly comes up the table properties. How many rows do I want? So I'm going to change this just for the sake of our time. I'm just going to make one row. It's going to have 2 different columns. So basically, there's going to be a column over here on my left side and a column, and there's going to be another column on the right side of my document. I'm going to split my document into a table and have 2 separate columns. Headers, I want none. Columns, I want 2. And the width, it says 500%. I want to do 100% width of my document. Cell spacing just has to do with what's around that table. I want nothing. I don't want any spacing around that table. I just want the table to fill in. Now this example, I can just put in a table real quick, and I'm gonna hit OK here, and as you can see, it starts to populate my table. And I'm going to run out of time here, so I will continue this on another tutorial. But this is where I can put in my address. And let me go back, because I'm going to do a Shift Enter to go right under ADD 1. And then another shift, enter, ADD R2, address 2. Okay, that's an example. And over here, I can put their address. And I'm gonna do a shift, enter, and I think you kind of get the idea. Okay, so this allows you to create 2 different columns, but I'm gonna have to pick this up again because we are out of time. Just want you to know that this allows you to create your document on your own, and all of it would do, once I get done filling in my document and my tables, and I've already added this information, I'm just gonna come down here and hit add, and boom, there's my follow-up. And I'm gonna make sure I pick this up on Monday so we can finish adding and I can show you the power of this, all right? So I appreciate you all being with us today. And basically, I just want to leave this one thought with you that I pray will help you. The thought is, character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. That came from Helen Keller. So I want you to go out there and have a great weekend, everybody. You guys are fantastic. We appreciate being with you and look forward to talking with you again on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye now.